can complain about a lot of things happening around the world, but one thing you should be always grateful for is grateful for life, because without life, there's nothing is that would be. So if anything at all, we are really grateful for life, and to come here on this beautiful Thursday afternoon to give this program Education Today on this dial, Unilag 103 Dawn FM. My name has not changed. I am Israel Iram, and you're welcome to Education Today. So we don't have a lot of time this afternoon. We're giving you our throwback song that will come very much later, because we have a pressing issue on ground. By the way, good afternoon to you, our dear listeners, and you're welcome to Education Today on Thursday, which is today, your weekly show where we explore key issues shaping the world of learning and knowledge. I'm your host, Iram again, and as always, we are here to dive into the pressing matters surrounding education, policy, and the future of learning in Nigeria and beyond. Just last week, the world marked the International Day of Education on January 24th, a day dedicated to recognizing education as a human right and a driver for sustainable development. This year's theme, AI and Education, Human Agency in an Automated World, brings to the forefront an urgent discussion how artificial intelligence is reshaping education and what this means for students, teachers, and society at large. From AI-powered tutoring systems to smart grading tools, artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming how we learn and teach. But while AI represents exciting opportunities and possibilities, concerns are also rising. Will AI replace teachers? Can it truly personalize learning? How do we ensure that human values and ethics remain at the core of education in this digital era? Today, we'll be discussing these pressing questions and more. How can Nigeria leverage AI to improve education while preserving human agency and critical thinking? To help us navigate this important conversation, we have a special guest in the studio. But before we dive in, let's have a very quick breather. Welcome back. The program is still Education Today. We're discussing the International Day of Education and the challenges and opportunities surrounding learning in Nigeria and AI. The International Day of Education, observed annually on January 24th, was established by the United Nations to underscore the vital importance of education in promoting peace, development, and social progress. Education is a fundamental human right and a crucial factor in society growth. However, millions of children and adults around the globe still lack access to quality learning opportunities. According to UNESCO, over 20 million children in Nigeria are currently out of school, making it one of the highest numbers in the world, and that is truly high. Meanwhile, issues such as inadequate funding, poor infrastructure, and a shortage of qualified teachers continue to affect the quality of education. Despite these challenges, there are also innovative solutions emerging, from digital learning platforms to community-led education initiatives. Are we truly providing an education system that empowers and equips every Nigerian child to be a catalyst for peace? What challenges continue to hinder access to quality education, and what steps are we taking to ensure that education leads to lasting transformation for our society? Also, how can Nigeria leverage AI to improve education? To help us answer these questions and more, I am thrilled to introduce our guest. He is Martins Oloye. So my guest this afternoon is Martins Oloye. He is the visionary co-founder and a driving force behind K2U Puzzles, where he channels over 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience into reshaping educational tools for young minds in Nigeria. With a robust background in manufacturing, printing, branding, and training, Martins brings a unique blend of industry expertise and dedication to creating meaningful products that resonate with children and parents alike. His career has been defined every need, a passion that is core at the K2 mission to inspire, educate, and empower. A graduate of History and Strategic Studies from the University of Lagos, Martins is not only an avid historian but also a dedicated advocate for social impact. Through K2U Puzzles, Martins seeks to elevate critical thinking and problem-solving skills among young Nigerians, ensuring that each puzzle not only entertains but also builds intellectual resilience and curiosity. Beyond his role as a co-founder, Martins is a skilled trainer who has devoted a significant portion of his career to teaching and mentoring. His influence as a trainer has reached several individuals in multiple continents, fostering a culture of continuous learning and self-improvement. With a heart for his community and passion to inspire the next generation, Martins Oloyi possesses an enduring commitment to innovation, education, and positive change in Nigeria. Mr. Martins, you're welcome.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
I mean, very robust, career you built. How many years is your career now as we speak?
So it depends on what we are looking at.
We're looking at how you've been able to. Let's talk about K2I.
K2U Puzzles.
K2U Puzzles, yeah.
So K2U Puzzles just got off last year, but it's a culmination of all the work experiences and the trainings, like you've said, that I've had, and I've been able to take people both in Nigeria and Europe.
Right. So, I mean, how has it been like working with young people, because you develop these puzzles for them and you're trying to like foster critical thinking, which is missing if you think about it in our educational scheme, as it were. So what does it feel like having to bring this innovation into the world already?
So for context, it is not the same situation everywhere all over the world, and I've been lucky to have experiences in different places. And we need to look at what works for the country. So we know that education is not a scam like this new generation used to say.
It's a popular mantra.
And I would like to take it from the very top, and I'm happy to have this platform. The first thing is the brains behind the whole noise about artificial intelligence right now are educated people, mathematicians, people that have PhD in mathematics, physics, and everything. So the days of saying education is a scam, or like the parlance that goes around say education is a scam, it doesn't hold water anymore. And we need to find the space as a people to start, fighting for our space all over the world. We have all stories of how Nigerians excel everywhere, but we need to also start getting it done here. So that's why we're looking back into the community and seeing what can be done, and that's how K2U Puzzles came by, which I think we'll be able to discuss while we progress in this beautiful environment.
We're still talking about the International Day of Education, and over 20 million children are out of school, and that is a big threat. So how do you feel being in a country where there are 20 million children out of school? That's more than the population of some countries around the world. So does that pose a threat to you? How do you feel about that?
So thank you for that. One of the beautiful things is this project has taken us around the country. We're presently in some West African countries apart from the diaspora. And the key thing we've seen is the weight of having children not being able to access education, primary education, at this age and time. I mentioned earlier that Nigeria is really blessed with wonderful, smart people. Go anywhere in the world, we're there. So back home, where we have the crux of the matter, where we make everything, we need to ensure that this should be attended to. That's why we're starting this. It is a painful thing to have the level of education we have down south, and painfully, the northern part of the country is experiencing more. We've been to the north also. We're working in the north. We've gone around, and it is higher up north. But we have the same thing down south here, like in some schools in Lagos. We have that problem everywhere in Nigeria. So it's not a good thing, and that's why we're trying to see, part of what we're doing is engage them in a way that will make the children want to go to school again. That's why we developed some of these puzzles, and we'll talk about why we chose puzzles later.
We'll come to these puzzles shortly, because having 20 million out of school is a big problem. And let me give you a bigger picture. These 20 million people will turn out to become ritualists, will turn out to become thugs, if not taken care of, become fraudsters. and the society becomes toxic at large. So every child is your child, and do not be comfortable seeing kids out of school. They're not learning anything, and they can be, recruited into some thug, some cult group, and all the pressure comes back to us as a society. So it's a very big problem. So what practical steps? Let's talk to the government now. What do you think the government can do to combat all of this big menace that is looming, really?
I like sharing experiences, because somehow our life and lessons are made up of experiences. So when you mentioned all of those things, we've had engagements where we had something in Benin, and there was a child that mentioned that as at that moment he was just trying to leave that place and start working as a Yahoo boy kind of thing. They have a school. There was another lady that was like, this is a timely thing for her, because she was already putting money together to pay people to ship their children, their wards, to Italy.
To do what?
To do prostitution. There's another one, because I like sharing the experiences. Those are life experiences that people actually need to know, that sometimes when you say it on radio like this, or you see it in the papers, they are numbers. So the 20 million you mentioned are actually numbers. The final experience I will give before I now talk about how we're trying to work with the government is my own personal word. So I have someone who lived with me that needed to be in Germany, so he's in school right now. And when I went to see him, life's big, and it was sad because one of his friends, a classmate, was swindled by a Nigerian, what people call, I don't want to believe some of them are in this school. It's a problem. It's a Malay problem we're having. And I could see the boy, I think he was Filipino, and the parents struggled to send him to school. Like we struggled to, I don't want to use the word struggle, to send my own word to school. So I get there as a guardian, and I'm seeing the child that someone somewhere in, I think maybe Lagos, somewhere in Nigeria, he even had the right to tell him, the +234, and sends him a voice on that, you've been scammed, just take your lot and move on.
Wow.
A child that is still a minor, I think he's like 18, not a minor anymore. So when you mention those numbers, fraud and ritual and everything, they're not just news, they are stories that we can all see, and we beg every time for people not to do that. So back to the question, why we have to
partner with
government. The idea of the puzzle, which is an experience that we brought from everywhere, one of the ones I picked is also from Germany and Spain, is if you don't teach children from early on in life, you're likely not going to have anything to do with them. There's something we call mind control. Mind control.
Okay.
Part of my experience is advertising and PR, and one of the things we know is, without telling you, we have control over what you're doing. You just look at me, I can guess the number of people in this room and know the kind of things that you would want, where you are going to, what you are tinkering to, and what will be. So we are not using this product to control them, and the government have policies all over to tackle these things. So we are just here to partner with governments that, look, this is what we've seen. We have researchers from all over the world also, so this is not just a product. So we have researchers, psychologists, data researchers, and even some PhD students here in Lagos, Unilag here, that are working on the best way to make sure this works for the children.
So let's dive into, because this makes a lot of sense, and I'm happy it's coming at this point to help children integrate themselves back into education, because this is coming at a point where you mentioned an institution. There are some, they call them, what do they call them now? There are places where people literally teach others how to scam people.
Yeah.
Like they run a facility where they encourage others to even do these kinds of stealings, and it's terrible. And people are increasingly losing interest in education because they do not see, they see a world where artists are making a lot of money buying the biggest cars, and the lecturers are not doing so well. So people who have these degrees are not very successful compared to others. So it's waning, that figure is waning. People don't want to go to school anymore. They think school is a scam. They think learning is not a thing. And there's another report I saw that by 2040, 2 countries will become the capital of poverty in the world. Nigeria and DR Congo, and it's a big problem. And I think Bill Gates pointed out to education and miseducation in Africa. Now, how does K2U, where does it come in really, and what are these products, and how can they help to, foster children again back to school?
So it's a lot of questions. I'll try to narrow down on the key parts. The first one is, education is not a scam. That's why I started by saying, because I met some wonderful first-class graduates there when I was coming in through the lobby, and I was trying to encourage them that you will have have your journey set ahead of you, but the structure you are getting, the foundation you are getting, which is education, is what you set out. I studied history. I've been into printing. I've been into branding. I've been into products manufacturing. I'm manufacturing this puzzle. I've done consultancy that took me to like 5 branches of Central Bank. I've done consultancy that took me to Spain. So education is never a scam. So the basics is what we are trying to do now, which is making sure that right from the very bottom, which the government is doing a lot with SUBEB and other aspects, is get them from the beginning. You mentioned something about out of school children. They need to find something that would make them love school again. Education at that level should be interesting. Now, puzzles in the sense in itself have a lot of benefits which a lot of people don't know. We try as much as possible to let people know that if you don't train yourself, you are likely just going to be the same. And this mantra that education is not working, that people that are studying and not making it, is not so. I had a program where I was a speaker for some youth organization in Lagos State on the in VI, and I said to them, the fact that you chose to be here means you're taking the right choices. Your life is measured by the time that you're spending every day. So you are 10 years old. Every time, this little time that we're talking now, you can't take it back. So those choices are the things that will make us know that education is not a waste. Now, look around in its truest form. I don't know how you perceive me. You have an impression when I came in, like, okay, any other bloke. But when I start speaking, you probably like, okay, and I'm not trained. I repeat, I am not trained. I've not gone to any school of artistry. I've not gone to any school of oratory. I've not gone anywhere. So imagine someone like you that is so smooth because it's a work, having to merge education with it. You get better at what you do. People still get to get jobs. You can volunteer. That's how I started. You can do what people call menial jobs. And why we are also using the puzzle, I'd like to make reference again to the puzzle, is that this puzzle, like ours, is different because we're trying to teach African history all over again. My background is in history in this university, from this University of Lagos. So what
year was that?
All I was just saying, my matric number is 01. So it's just recent.
Right.
So what we have is we're trying to teach them again that slow and steady still works. You can't become a doctor in a day. So the thing saying education does not work is also a lie. Then now I need to ask you I'm throwing a question at you. I've seen it too many times. I've seen garages in at least 4 continents. And I see people working there. When I say garages, I mean mechanical, what you call mechanic workshop. The people you call not educated are actually over there making a kill. Plumbers, people doing what you call menial jobs are not actually menial, because that's the bedrock of every society. Painters. So why not get them through school like you, Yabatek and Rest are doing, which is okay, all those kind of tools, and not call them that education is not a scam. We still have what we need as a country. We are not using jets and rockets here. We still have basic, and I'm using this to encourage everyone listening to me now. We still have the basics that can still get people working. I told you I was into manufacturing. I keep producing. If you don't produce, that's why China is set apart. If you don't produce, you will not get there. And education is not just literacy. You can actually be educated informally. Right. It's a deep school of thought, but
I want to start
education
with some very pressing questions now. What is the full meaning of K2U?
So K2U is like kindergarten to university. So you can give it another acronym. So it means that from the very beginning to the very end, we chose puzzles because it's something that could keep teaching. You don't stop teaching. You don't stop learning, even to old age. That's why for some people, research is always evolving. Remember, I mentioned that we have people working with us from, as in professors also, associate profs from universities and other places across the world, that we are saying that puzzles can help you with early dementia and Alzheimer's and all of those things, apart from the things that children can get from them.
What kind of puzzles are these now?
These are jigsaw puzzles.
Jigsaw puzzles?
Yes.
And you're saying it helps with...
So, should we go into the benefits of jigsaw puzzles?
Let's have
Goodness me. My co-founder is about to get it. She's the champion of jigsaw puzzles, of the benefits. But I'll tell you some of them, because it's something I've been talking about a lot of times. The first one is you have a set where you work directly on the brain. So there's some research is showing that every time you put together a jigsaw puzzle, after spending 25 minutes, if they check your IQ, you get to get 4 points
Higher.
your IQ gets increased by 4. So the more you do it, the better you become. That's number one. And there's the mental exercise. Kind of, it teaches you patience. It teaches you critical thinking, which helps to make you a problem solver. So you are looking for solutions. Like, I'm in this place already. We're on here, so I can tell you the things I feel like this should be done. This is wrong. This is right. I'm not saying this place is not good, but because I have that approach to everything, that what can we do better than yesterday? That's it. There's also the part where it's, you mentioned from the beginning, how do we get the children out of school? Education should be fun. So putting this together, we have a situation where children from the very early age have what we call dexterity. Dexterity, just from lexicon, means you can use both hands, but it goes beyond that. So it means that every time you are putting it together, our jigsaw puzzle. And the jigsaw puzzle, you are using both sides of the brain. The right side of the brain, which you use for this creativity that you guys are doing, and all of those in arts and the rest. Then the left, which is for logic and critical reasoning. So at the same time, you are working, so you are becoming smarter. And now that today we are talking about the International Day of Education, and we're talking about artificial intelligence. So puzzles make your brain to retrain itself. For the neurosurgeons and those that know a lot about brain, whatever how it works, the cells of the brain, there are charges when you are playing, when you are putting jigsaws together. You become smarter because your brain is tasking itself. Artificial intelligence trains itself with data. That's what your brain is doing. So it helps to also what we call visual spatial reasoning.
So now
there's a lot, so I need to stop. There's a lot.
I'm asking, is it for kids, for adults? Because I think adults' brains are already fully formed. So do you think this jigsaw will help adults? Because you said it can fight dementia and many of these problems. Do you think do you recommend jigsaw puzzles to adults?
That's why the name is K2U, kindergarten to university. So the research is evolving, and these days, why I always tell people, like the reference I was talking about, the people I talked to in Victoria Island, and I said to them, this same phone that you have in your hands can determine where you will be the next day. A little research, the same time you spend on social media, just take 10% of it to put into research, put into learning. It will shock you how much you can do. So jigsaw puzzle works for everyone. For this particular context, because we have a disruptive project that we are
running. Like hand me on the puzzle, so I just look at it.
Yes, a disruptive project. We are using African folklore, African stories, folk tales. We are bringing it back. So you mentioned something about the problems we have, which is fraud and all of those ritualism and everything. There's the way our stories go growing up. I'm very young, forget that I'm bald. The stories that we had then was our parents, our grandma and grandpas would tell us stories, and they'll tell you at the end of the story that, what did you learn today? I learned to be kind, I learned to show empathy, I learned not to steal, I learned not to be disrespectful. That is what we are bringing. So our jigsaw puzzle, this particular set that we have, is different. It tells you all those stories. For this thing that trended recently,
exactly,
the elephants and everything. We have them. Those are the stories, and you have things to learn from it, which is you learn wisdom.
So can these puzzles be purchased, or do you have a program where people can apply for these things and go through stages? What's the end result of this?
Okay,
is this the one of purchase, or you have a system or a funnel where you now train people on these things, they improve, they get harder puzzles? How does it work really?
Okay, good. Thank you for that question. So you can see this one, 12 piece, 16 piece. Then you can graduate. That's for children, because from age 4 below, the frontal lobe and the rest is not developed. So anything you're doing, you're just wasting your time. So there's this one for them, and it's been seen in some places. There are some longitudinal tests done I think in Italy, that children become better in mathematics when they play jigsaw puzzles and other word games and things like that. So when you have this, you can now move to 64 piece. We have a 100 piece. We have a larger piece. And let me tell you, when you say what's the end goal, so we've been going around schools actually. So we have some schools that now have puzzle time weekly that the children get to use. So it's a tool for education. So we're trying to go mainstream, which we are doing. So we've had competitions in different parks and in places. So what you have with you is something that everyone can use to get smarter. So of course, But in stores you can buy, but the important thing is we're trying to make it go mainstream, not just because it says unique, but because we need to start fighting on all fronts these problems that you've mentioned.
I wish we had more time. We don't have a lot of time left. This is 1:28. You have 2 minutes to go. So where can they purchase? Do you have a website or you have a landing page where people can come check out?
Sure. We have a website.
What's the website?
We're working on I think it's K2U We have actually. So I don't want to go and do my at the top kind of situation.
Right.
We have. So, but at least where you can easily reach us, we have the IG page and social media. Just put in K2U puzzles.
So if you have kids, you have teenagers, instead of have them just wander and do nothing, you can get them jigsaw puzzles, and these things are in stages. They improve, they get harder ones, and according to report, it helps the brain. So I recommend this jigsaw puzzle to everyone out there who's got kids. If you're a parent, instead of playing pool doesn't look like a very developmental game. So instead of playing pool, instead of playing, I know chess helps your brain as well, and instead of playing the one they call Ludo or like PES, this is helpful. It's going to help you think better, and I recommend this. So where can I get this? These are stores, supermarkets.
I don't know if we're allowed to mention stores, but we have in some major stores in Lagos here, and we have in other places all over the world. So there's something you just mentioned, so I can say before we run. So this particular one, unlike other games, there's limited or no barrier to entry. So what we've done is we've allowed it's something that everyone can play. It saves time, it gives you family bonding and all of it. We don't have all the time, like you said, but it's something that is just unique, one of its kind, and with time people get to know it.
Thank you so much for coming, and you shed so much light on how AI is important, and how, most importantly, how you can retrain your brain. Some people say they are not good at thinking, and that's missing in our ecosystem of thought. But I think if people start to improve on jigsaw puzzles and many other things like chess, critical thinking, we can have a better future. What's your last word to our listeners this afternoon on the show?
Okay, this is what I just have to say. Every puzzle piece you are putting together is like building tomorrow. While Nigeria is trying, and our government, everybody is trying to get us to the moon and AI and everything, we should look at the basics: education, making the children smarter, critical thinking, and critical reasoning that will make us to understand what the teachers are teaching us. So it's important that we build those blocks by engaging in puzzle games like we have.
Thank you so much, Martin.
Thank you for having me.
Coming. It's been a nice time. All right, so up next we'll have to talk to certain students who finished with first class. I did the first class as well, and I can tell you it's a lot of work having to do first class. So yeah, we're going to talk to these students in a matter of time. Let's have a quick break. Enjoy Winning by Mr. P, and don't go anywhere. I have first class hanging already. Stay tuned.